Welcome back to Views with Hughes, your Jennifer News and Drum Hughes, and today we're going to talk about the fact that Rings of Power is putting the foot in their mouth again. Before I start on that, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, and also click the bell notification so that way you'll be alerted of future videos and uploads. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So now we got the Rings of Power showrunner admitting the intention of the show was to do something different but familiar. What exactly do they mean by that? Well, I'm going to be like a bit briefer than usual with this. So there's going to be like a lot of details I'm going to be skipping over in this article. So the article is basically went into detail about, what happened at San Diego Comic-Con with the showrunners. Both Payne and McKay are there being interviewed by Colbert, and it's like, already went over what they talked about, stating that, telling people read the book, and also saying that it's not as woke as it's not woke anything like that, but and they also stated that the characters are played by actors who will be out here in just a moment who are not canonical to Tolkien, of course. But it's like they also stated that it's not going to be, woke and everything, but instead it's just the implied cultures. They're implied cultures that you are drawing from, but they are not necessarily described to the depth of that you are going to represent them. Okay. So it's like Payne said a part of the answer. So one, always back to Tolkien, and two, then Tolkien was silent. We try to invent as Tolkienian a way as possible. So basically, that simply means that that's their own ways of admitting that, it's not really Tolkien. It's their mess. It's their fan fiction that they're putting out there. Okay. So moving along. So this is where, goes into detail about how they were talking about Harfoots or not hobbits, but they're their ancestors hobbits. And then it's like, they contradict themselves, as I've usually reported on again, where they said technically it's not a hobbit story, it's a Harfoot story. But little do they know, Harfoots are hobbits. Like I said that last time when I talked about Rings of Power, all Harfoots are hobbits, but not all hobbits are Harfoots. Okay, so now it's like they're basically contradicting themselves, and it's not a good look for them. Okay. So the fans, we actually seen what's going on with them. We see their true intentions, and they're not even putting it out there. But now they're apparently admitting to it. Okay. So we see that, it's based on a second age, like it was stated. And then it says here on page 3, I think it's going back. Let me go back to a paragraph here. It says here that McKay also added it was really important for us from 1 minute on, from minute one, that what makes Tolkien's tone unique and special is the blend of all of these cultures and what each of them bring to the Middle Earth and what each of them represent. The underdogs and the smallest people being able to do great deeds. We cannot imagine a version of this show that didn't have a version of that same in some form, and went deep into the text to find it. And we think there's a beautiful, wonderful story there that you guys are really going to love. So I got a problem with this. Okay, so the main factor is that they say that they read the books, they went deeper to the text, but exactly how deep did they go into it? Did they read the whole story? Nope. Or is this just the fact that, they're just going basically into like only the things that they have the rights over? They don't have the rights to the Silmarillion and other some of the other stories like the Unfinished Tales. Okay, and it's like all the fan fiction out there. No, we're not taking it. You don't have the rights to it. So why are you making this series in the first place? Like, this is something that we don't want. It's based on the appendices that's in the book, and that's pretty brief. And you're just basically adding allegory to it. Okay. So it's basically them saying that they're going deep into the text, but not knowing that we know that, one, they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion and other texts like they've put out there before, and two, they know they must think we're stupid. Okay, they're reaching out to those who don't know anything about Tolkien or Lord of the Rings and trying to win them over, so that way they can go ahead and make money. but they're going to be in a world full of hurt when they learn that this isn't Tolkien and none of this is even, a lot of this isn't even canon. All right. So moving along, it says here on page 3 of the Lord of the Rings of Power, Tolkien wrote, before the crossing of the mountains, the hobbits had already become divided into 3 somewhat different breeds: Harfoots, Stoors, and Falahads. The Harfoots were brown of skin, smaller and shorter, and they were beardless and bootless. Their hands and feet were neat and nimble, and I shared this yesterday. And they preferred highlands and hillsides. And he went on his head and said, he would later write, the Harfoots had much to do with dwarves in ancient times, most likely First Age, and long lived in the foothills of the mountains, basically at the bottom of it. They moved westward early and roamed over Eriador as far as Weathertop, while the others were still in Wonderland. They were the most normal and representative variety of hobbit, and far the most numerous. They were the most inclined to settle in one place and longest preserved their ancestral habit of living in tunnels and holes. So that contradicts what that one actress who's supposed to play one of the hobbits saying that they live in the wagons or barrels or whatever she said. Either way, it wasn't holes or mountains. So she lied and she don't know. Okay. So let's go ahead and move on along. Okay. So it's like with them exposing themselves as liars during their Hall H presentation, McKay and Payne are trying to a different tactic. Okay, so this past month on August 2nd, in Entertainment Weekly, they shared a new interview with Payne and McKay discussing why they introduced original characters and what their goal for the show was from the beginning. So basically, they were stating, McKay explained that the Tolkien would have a line or reference, and from that, a whole character and an arc could spring. No, he wouldn't. Nope. No, he wouldn't. And he added that was part of the joy of coming up with this show. We just felt that, like, Tolkien had this massive plot of land that we knew had an oil in it somewhere, and every time we hit the ground, our guides would spring up. You know what that basically means? You know what it basically says? It's fan fiction. This is fan fiction. That's what he's basically saying. In his own little fancy Hollywood jargon, he admitted that, he indirectly admitted that this is nothing more than fan fiction. It's as much as fan fiction as somebody trying to recreate a different meaning from the Matrix revelations and stuff. From what happened. No, he didn't really die. He just went on ahead and just came back and he just came in through the shadows and da. This is fan fiction right here. Okay? So, and it's like, you know what? Call me a gatekeeper. I don't care. Okay? Yes, I'm a gatekeeper because of the fact that y'all straying away from something that y'all don't have rights to, but you're basing a whole 5 seasons of a series on something that's based on what's an appendix of a novel. Just a few pages. You can turn that into 5 seasons, just dragging it all out, like Walking Dead. And moving along, McKay will also explain the goal he and Payne and Prime Video had for the show from the onset. We felt that this was this great epic that was distinct enough from what had been adapted before, but it had enough connections to be familiar. So this is where they say that's kind of been the watchword from day one, to do something different but familiar and hopefully huge, epic, and awesome in its own right. In other words, taking something that people know and add the current political culture into it. Current day politics, something that we're trying to escape away from. They're going to put that right in there. Thinking that a lot of people out there are going to watch it because it's going to represent them, but they don't want it. Okay? They're going to be real shocked about the reactions that when they're going to see a black woman playing a dwarf. And then hiding the truth that female dwarves look just like men, as Tolkien stated. Beards. But I digress. And then there's also the whole story with the hobbits. and stuff. They didn't really play much of a role in the second age, but they just off out of the picture until third age, where they made a really big footprint on in third age. All right, so moving along, these comments do echo what McKay told Vanity Fair back in February when he detailed the driving question. The show was, can we come up with something? Come up with the novel Tolkien never wrote. Can we come up with something, a novel that Tolkien never wrote, and do it as a mega event series that could only happen now? Current day politics, allegories, which Tolkien didn't want. And guess who approves of all of this? His grandson, Simon Tolkien, Christopher's own son. But you know what? I'm not surprised, because Christopher Tolkien himself, he didn't really like how Peter Jackson did the films Lord of the Rings. Okay. And Simon Tolkien went on ahead, piggyback off of that, saying that it was too faithful to the novels, to the lore itself. And the fans love that. Like I said before, I'm telling you, Simon Tolkien hate the works and stuff. Now he's the head over the Tolkien estate, and he's approving. He's given his full approval of Rings of Power. The only way he can do to get paid. All right, I said it. Is it a prediction? Yes. If it's a confirmation, we shall see. All right, so this too was a lie, as Tolkien wrote the Silmarillion chronicling the events of not only the Second Age, which the Rings of Power is set, and they don't have the rights over, but also the First Age. In fact, Tolkien wrote the Silmarillion before the Lord of the Rings, and the Lord of the Rings is actually inspired by the Silmarillion. See how interconnected they are, how inverse the relations they have with each other, that it's mutual. He wrote Silmarillion before the Lord of the Rings, and the Lord of the Rings was actually inspired by the Silmarillion. Okay, so it's like in letter 25 to the editor of the Observer, Tolkien wrote, "My tale is not consciously based on any other book, save one, and it's unpublished, the Silmarillion, a history of the elves, to which frequent allusion is made." That explains the whole history of Arda and how the Valar came across, because he wrote this before the Lord of the Rings. I'm going to be honest with y'all, I didn't even know that myself. But I still embrace the text. I still embrace what the professor put out there. And I respect it. And I also defend it as well. But to have people who, from Hollywood and everything, as well as other places from around the world, who don't even know a thing about Tolkien and his text, are coming out here trying to defend the show and everything, just so that way they can promote it and make more money. It's like you basically selling your souls. It's like, where is your integrity? Gone. But it just shows that they're not really Tolkien fans, but they're lying that they are, but they're not. Okay? All right, let's move along. In fact, Tolkien actually advocated for both the Silmarillion and the Lord of the Rings to be published simultaneously. He wrote in a letter 126 to Milton Waldman, I had in my letter made a strong point that the Silmarillion, etc., and the Lord of the Rings went together as one long saga of the jewels and the rings, and that I was resolved to treat them as one thing. However, they might formally be issued. So in other words, he intended to have both books released at the same time as a one long tail, but publishing companies, they deemed that it would be too long for the reader and they would lose readers and stuff. So they just went on ahead and released them the way that they did. Tolkien did it right. And as a matter of fact, honestly, I probably wouldn't mind him to release one before the other, Silmarillion before the Lord of the Rings. Okay. But Tolkien thought of the story as one whole saga, but as he detailed in letter 125 to Stanley Unwin, but the whole saga of the three jewels and the rings of power has only one natural division into two parts, each of about 600,000 words. The Silmarillion and other legends. The Lord of the Rings, the latter, is as invisible and undefined as I would make it. And then he talks about in letter 133, where he explained to the same person, as for the Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion, they are where they were. The one finished and the one revised, and the other still unfinished or unrevised, and both gathering dust. I have been both off and on too unwell and too burdened to do too much about them, and too downhearted watching paper shortages and costs mounting against me. But I have rather modified my views. Better something than nothing, although to me all are one. And the one of the rings, the Lord of the Rings, I mean, would be better, far and eased as part of the whole. I would gladly consider the publication of any pen of this stuff. So in other words, there's a shortage of materials at the time that hindered the release of the both books as one tale. All right. But either way, this shows that they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion. They only have rights to a portion of the Lord of the Rings, and that's about it. Peter Jackson done well with the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit. And I'm pretty sure he's going to do fantastic with the Silmarillion if he ever gets around to it. Or if he gets the opportunity. This show, however, they definitely exposed their true intentions. They've exposed that they're going to take something that's familiar to a lot of people and then go ahead and add their own little twist of the current political culture that we see today, that we're trying to escape from, into the series itself. And they're selling it as if it's canon. They also say, read the book, read the book. Oh, the people have read the books. They also read the letters too, of showing what the intentions behind these stories were and the information within the stories describing it. Okay? But we're just fans. Like, we don't know any better. Like, we don't know what Professor Tolkien himself wanted. All right? So what do you think about all of this? Okay, what kind of other guesses do you have about what the showrunners McKay and Payne are saying about this? You know, and also, what do you think is going to happen? You know, my guess is that no one's going to watch the show later on, but they're going to still play the series on Amazon on Prime Video. Okay, and then they're going to be desperately trying to get people like they are now to go ahead and watch the show. What are your thoughts about this? Let me know in the comments below. And also, if you enjoyed the things that I shared in this video, please smash that like button. And also, if you haven't done so yet and you enjoy my content I post, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification. And also share this video as well as all other videos across social media. And also, I've seen that a lot of you all enjoy the Rings of Power content I put out there. Let me know your thoughts about the other content that's based on DC, Warner Brothers Discovery, Disney, and Marvel Studios, as well as Lucasfilm. Watch those videos too. Let me know. I want to hear your thoughts about this. Remember, I said this in the introductory video that I wanted this channel to grow into a community, another community, to expand the community, okay? So that way the fandom can win once again. So that way we won't have to fall victim to the agenda of the Hollywood elites and the Washington elites, okay? So like I said before, subscribe to the channel, click that bell notification. And until then, peace.